quickly, I think, Deepa talked about it. So my name is Vivek, and, I'm the person who founded AltLife. And the whole goal was, how do we look at alternate ways for both the mind and the body to remain healthy? And how do we take advantage of cutting edge science and get safe and natural solutions to be able to do that? And towards the end of the session, I will talk in brief about AltLife and what it is that we do and what you folks could take advantage of. I have my colleague Uma, who's a veteran yogi and a teacher, and I think she will have a second part of the session and also do a quick exercise, right, to talk about the power of yoga and meditation and how that can calm us, and we'll do a live demo as well, right? So this is the quick agenda. I think this has been distributed to each of us, and let's just dive through into the session. But broadly, we will cover in the first half, what is the role of mental health and a calm mind in these uncertain times, and why is it important? We'll try and decipher stress a little. We'll talk about some tips on how do you identify, stress. We'll cover, how do you manage it? How do you eliminate it? And then, we will do a quick introduction to, we'll do a stress management exercise after that. And then we'll do a quick introduction to AltLife and then do a Q&A session. That's the planned agenda. So what is stress, right? Let's just talk about it a little to contextualize the rest of the conversation, right? Because almost all of us believe that stress is, psychological, it's in the mind, it's things that we feel, etc. But I think before we go further, I think one needs to understand what this really means. First of all, stress on itself is neither good nor bad, right? There are times when stress is good, and that's called eustress. And there are obviously times when stress is not good. And typically this happens when it is chronic and on an ongoing level, right? Stress is like many other emotions and reactions of the human body, yet another, right? In the sense, we feel happy, we feel fear, we feel, similarly, we feel it's a feeling of stress, right? And it's not all only in the mind, right? That's one takeaway. While we may believe that stress is typically something we feel in our mind and that impacts our state of thought and the way we feel, etc., that's only half the story. It does have a physiological impact as well. So what happens when we get stressed triggers off a series of reactions that impact our entire physiology, our body as well, right? And that connection, I think it is very important to understand. Now, if you were to, visualize a situation, right, where, you're in a jungle, you've gone camping in the days you could step out of home and go to some of these places, and you're in a tent and it's great weather, etc. In the middle of the night, you want to step out because you want to use the restroom, let's say in nature, and all is well. And but suddenly you see, let's say, a snake or a tiger, right? A few things happen. First of all, the pressure that you needed to go goes away, right? You no longer feel it. Second of all, in your mind, it becomes as alert as it possibly can while there is fear, right? Third of all, you, without knowing, will have access to much more energy than you possibly can have, right? Which is the entire human body makes available to you both clarity of thought and a lot of energy, because the expected reaction is one of two. This is called fight or flight, right? So if you have to fight the snake or the tiger, you need energy, right? If you have to run, you again need a lot of energy, because evolutionary, we've been wired to ensure our survival, right? And let's say we go back to that situation, we are in, anyway, since it's in our mind, we are in a South African forest, etc., having a nice time, and that's when the situation happens. What would you do? Maybe your mind will, you will notice a rock. You'll take the rock, throw it. The tiger or snake will get confused, and you will run, climb a tree, let's say, and that keeps you safe. And to do all of that, you need a lot of energy, right? So what's happening is there is a cascade of hormonal activity that is happening when you feel that stress, right? It starts with a hormone called cortisol, and then there's a cascade that happens. There are some hormones that mute, right? If you're feeling hungry, if you're feeling cold, if you're feeling like you're pressure and you need to go, all of that gets muted. And there's only two things, the heart and the brain that take priority. Second thing that happens is that glucose reserves from everywhere in your body are kind of made available to you to ensure that you don't run short of energy, right? And you have the energy to be able to act. So stress leads to certain hormonal reactions. Those hormonal reactions is a cascade of hormonal activity that impacts pretty much all of your body. So it's not just psychological, but there's a physiological impact, right? It can be good, it can be bad, depending on the context, because in certain times it helps us perform better, right? And whereas in other times it actually impacts the way we are and our health and our state of mind, etc. So let's talk about COVID times, and it's something that we've all had to deal with, right? So one, COVID-driven changes in our environment induce stress, right? And not of the good kind. And there are multiple factors, right? One is the uncertainty of it all, right? The perception of risk that's out there saying, earlier we can imagine all of us, and I'm sure each one of us has got enough jokes about this, right? You go somewhere, somebody sneezes, it won't bother us. Whereas now, if you see anybody sneeze or cough, our antenna goes up and our fight or flight instinct kind of kicks in, right? How do I go away? There's an imaginary spray that's going around, etc. Right? So, obviously part of it is real, but a part of it is also in the way we are thinking, the way our mind works, right? So the risk perception is much higher, right? Earlier, this is India, the density of people is high, right? You'd go to a shop or a hotel, or a workplace, and you're very happy being in a big, thick group. Whereas the same thing now, if somebody comes in your imaginary circle of, let's say, 2 feet, again, antenna goes up saying, hey, I need some distance, buddy, right? And so on. Now, these are obviously playing in our mind, right? Man is a social animal. But in some way, obviously, technology like this does help us, stay in touch, does help us collaborate, does help us be productive and get a lot done, does help us stay in touch with those who are our friends, our family, etc. But yet, deep inside, we feel constrained. We feel that we're not able to socialize the way we would. We're not able to move, right? And we're just coming off from a puja, from Dasara to Diwali, and obviously we do the best we can. But these are all where it used to be different before, whereas now it does lead to some kind of constrained environment, and that again plays on our mind. Right? There is some sense of loneliness, right? Especially the younger you are, you don't have a family, you're staying, and suddenly you don't have the same freedom, same abilities, etc. There's a sense of loneliness, right? Relationships both ways. One is if it is long distance, problem, and if it is short distance, there's too much overexposure. Earlier you used to head out and kind of come back in, whereas now it's the same faces, same people, same voices, same multiple parallel Zoom calls across multiple rooms, and that leads to its own reason for causing stress, right? Again, there's maybe uncertainty around your career, there could be uncertainty about the financial situation. So and I could go on and on, right? I mean, and that's not the intent. We don't want to stress each other more than to solve for it. But the reality of it is that one is the statistics and what happens, you get it, and how you deal with it, and so on, right? But on the other hand, all of these, it's a pot boiler that's happening within our minds, and it is, whether we like it or not, leading to an increased situation of or a feeling of stress, right? It could be one of these, some of these, or most of these, right? And the degree of which could be different for different people. So one, the environment has changed. Two, the current environment is, we feel more stressed, right? And there are more reasons that will cause us stress in such an environment. So then the question is, okay, I agree, this is the state. So what, right? Now let's understand, what does stress lead to? One, directly, it reduces our immunity, right? Two, it impacts our sleep, which indirectly again reduces the the health of our cells, right? How they function and etc. Stress leads us to, again, it's when I say stress, and I'll talk about it, it is actually a cascade of hormonal impact, and each one of them drive a multiple of these, right? So, and hormones are the chemical communication system within our body. Our body, there are two. One is the electrical communication system, which is from your central nervous system, which is your brain and your spinal cord, connected to different parts. Second is the chemical communication system, where hormones get generated and they signal different things to different parts of the body, right? So, there is a cascade of hormonal changes that end up happening, which, lead to unhealthy eating. It leads to gaining weight. Our body has a clock called the circadian rhythm, and that alignment will see mismatches, right? And, we don't have a proper rhythm. We may get up at odd times, sleep at odd times, eat at odd times, etc., because we don't need to get out and we're confined to our home, etc. Obviously can lead to a disturbed state of mind. And again, we can keep going on. But the key takeaway here is that, there are things in our environment that are increasing our level of stress, but it's not limited to the mind. It impacts our body as well. And it leads to a cascade of things, hormonal changes that impact various things that we do throughout our day, right? And all of these, at the end of the day, increase the risk of the ability of a person to deal with a COVID as well, right? Because obviously, with a situation like COVID, you want your immunity to be at your highest, but if you allow yourself to have a lot of stress, actually makes the body vulnerable, right? If you want your body to be all ready to fight, the army within the body needs to be trained. They need to be alert. They need to have the weaponry, and that weaponry is the nutrition. If you don't give the right nutrition, again, stress can lead to unhealthy eating. That means you deprive your body of certain essential nutrients that are needed, which in turn will be used by our defense mechanism, by our immunity, by what's called our autophagy, and so on and so forth. Technical terms, but in essence, it makes us weaker. So the takeaway, let's recognize that while we don't control much of the environment, it does lead to increase in stress. And two, that stress is not good for us. It's making us more vulnerable. And hence, it's important for us to recognize what is it that we can do. If we have stress, what are the things that we can do that will ensure that we are strong mentally and we prevent this cascade of hormonal activity that happens, right? So, essentially a summary of what we talked about, inadequate sleep, it could be work-related things, it could be relationship issues, financial worries, it could be commute, all of them, anything of this leads to higher level of cortisol, and that leads to a cascade of, there's a super important hormone called insulin, and that gets impacted, right? Growth hormone, which is in charge of, taking your old cells, recycling, creating new cells, that gets impacted. And if that's not working well, there's an accumulation of bad cells that happens within the body, which is not good for us, right? There are things like endorphins, serotonin, oxytocin, melatonin. All of these are hormones that are very important for us to, feel good, to sleep well, and these get impacted, right? And does not work well, right? There is a hormone called leptin, and leptin plays a critical role in terms of satiety and giving the feedback back to our brain saying that, hey, stop, I think you don't need any more food/nutrition. But essentially, if that doesn't work well, that means you end up overeating, right? Ghrelin, which is a hunger hormone, that increases, right? Your TSH, which is thyroid stimulating hormone, your LH and FSH, your DHEA, which are more your sex hormones, all of them have a negative impact, right? If there is a high level of stress. And when that happens, let's also understand that there are implications. Our visceral fat, which is fat within our body, increases, right? Our bone density reduces, our muscle mass reduces, and so on and so forth. And that puts us at a higher risk of things like an obesity, type 2 diabetes, etc. Especially if you're already vulnerable, we need to take extra care, right? If we have more weight than we should, if we, are pre-diabetic or have type 2 diabetes, if we have a PCOS, then the impact of this gets magnified. Even if we are of good health, it is our job to ensure we reduce our stress so that we're able to let our body function as well as it can, and our defense mechanism to be as strong as it possibly can be, right? So, how do we identify stress? It may not be that difficult for most of us, we may know, but just leaving it out there for some of us to, what are the signs, right? There could be breathing difficulty, right? We can see increase in our blood pressure. We can see our heart rate, increase, right? We have difficulty sleeping, and there may be headaches that we may have. So what you see are some of the physical signs, right, on the left-hand side. And those are ways for you to figure out that, hey, is it possible that I'm under stress? And is that part of the reason why I'm getting these kind of physical signs commonly, right? Then there are psychological signs. Psychological signs are, we easily get irritated. I think there's some impatience and aggression, right, in terms of our response. Obviously not feeling good, feeling like there's a burden that's on our shoulder. There's some level of anxiety and nervousness that might exist, right? We may not be able to enjoy freely, etc. And even though we may be with people, there's a feeling of loneliness and so on. So what you see, those are more the psychological signs, right? And it doesn't have to be all of them. It could be one or more of them, but these are ways for us to recognize, right, and believe that, hey, maybe, right, we're getting exposed to stress and maybe we need to do something about it. And there are behavioral signs, which is, maybe constant worry, maybe our decision making is not as sharp as it could. And, like I said, the appetite changes, the different ability to focus and concentrate gets impacted, and if there's substance abuse or addictions that we have, that kind of increases, etc. So, these are some of the things that essentially are ways for us to identify, right? Are we under stress, etc. And obviously, we may not need a checklist like this. We may just feel it, and when we know it, we know we have to take steps. We know that stress is not good. Stress is not just in the mind, and I need the mind to be calm for sure, but it impacts our body as well. It reduces the strength of our defense mechanism. It makes us more vulnerable, and obviously it induces practices because of some of the hormones that are not working, of things that will take us towards many of the lifestyle disorders, and we want to avoid all of those, right? So that's the way to identify and deal with it. And now, we'll talk about how do we manage it and go through with the exercise. And I'll request Umar to take over from here, please. Umar, you'll need to unmute yourself. Okay. So while we wait for Umar to unmute and talk, I'll keep going ahead, and she'll pick it up as we go along. So, obviously these seem like simple things, and they are, except I think it always helps to recognize what are those things and to, put them on top of our mind so that we're able to act upon it, right? Be it, in terms of both the do's, which help us deal with stress, and the don'ts, which obviously are things that we need to avoid. And we have Umar on the line. Yeah. Umar? Hey Uma, can you hear me? Uma, we're unable to hear you. Okay. So obviously, one, we need to ensure we build a support ecosystem. That's very important. Like I said, for each one of us, how much our brave we believe we are, and we can deal with anything. Ecosystem always helps, right? And gives us that sense of comfort, that sense of we can manage, we can deal with this, right? And the foundation on which that we rest, etc. Sleep is super important, and I think one should look at least 7 hours of sleep, which helps not just to rest and rejuvenate, but there's a lot of maintenance of the body that happens when we sleep, and I think that's very important for us to ensure we sleep well as well. Physical activity, given the limitations, it's not as bad as before, but we need to be careful because there are parts of the world where there's a spike and there are lockdowns happening. So we just need to ensure that with the constraints that we have, how are we able to get in our physical activity every day, right? Breathing is a great tool, and it's a simple tool. We don't need any prop, right? Every hour, deep breaths help, and we will take a look at it as we do the exercise with Uma, right? Yoga, pranayama, relaxation techniques, all of them are extremely helpful, right? To help calm our mind, calm our body, and put us in the right frame of mind. But the different senses that we have, I think that's something we need to engage, right? The touch, the smell, and independently together. And as we do that, our sense of control kind of increases, and we'll feel much better, right? And I think anything that we feel, we need to get it out, right? The support system that we talked about, be it your friends, your spouse, your partner, your family, reach out, talk about it. Once you get it out, you will feel so much better, right? Similarly, if you look at the don'ts, one is, we talked about substance abuse. I think something to avoid. It's easy to get a feeling of negativity, of cynicism, etc., and that becomes a vicious loop. And I think we should aim to not get drawn into that, right? It's like a whirlpool that will suck you in, and I think we have to be super careful and kind of look for it and take actions to ensure we don't get caught. And obviously thinking about past and how life used to be, some choices not taken, looking at others, and where are you better, are you worse? All of this fuel higher level of stress, and something that we need to avoid, right? Impulse financial behavior, impulse dietary behavior, these are again something that we need to take care, because these definitely don't help, right? And will only make it difficult, right? Uma, are you there?
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. I think you called me earlier also, but I was
Yeah,
having a small problem with my
sure.
Bluetooth. I was listening to my husband's meeting on my Bluetooth, so I was a little bit scattered.
Yeah. So Uma, you want to talk about this section on eliminating stress and then take us through the exercise?
Sure. How's my video? I'm not able to see one second. Okay, there we are. Excellent. So good. Namaste all. So we listened to Vivek talking about recognizing stress and understanding stress. So here I am going to talk a little bit about our own countries, our own civilization, our own culture's gift to eliminating stress, and perhaps before that, managing stress after we recognize and understand. Um, I don't know if stress can be eliminated. Right now, if you see, I'm going through stress after all the years of practice. And stress will always be there. Again, good stress or bad stress, physical stress, physiological stress, or mental stress will always be there. But preparing, recognizing it, and preparing to face it is perhaps the approach that we learn through yoga. Um, so, in yogic terms, or in our understanding of the philosophy of life, what we understand is when the expectation is more than the ability, stress is caused. Now, this can be physical, physiological, and of course, definitely mental. And this can be through all walks of life to all people, irrespective of whether you're a child, whether you're a teenager, or a householder, or a mother, or an employee, or just any other person. When the expectations from you is more than what you can deliver, what is your capability, then there is stress. So understanding that as a person who is going through stress will perhaps help you in preparing for it better, knowing that, okay, you're going to be stressed, and these are some of the things that you can do to face that. First of all, it's not the right thing to say at a company to say that, if you're given something and if you think you're not going to be able to do back off from that, no, that's not what I'm trying to say. But over the period of time, you will understand what are your positives, what are your advantages, and what are the things that you're able to do well. And if you know for sure that your organizing skills are not good, your anticipation of time is not the best, so then you will have to look at a number of ways how you can do better and prevent a stress attack from coming on, or something that happens to your body or your mind from happening. So this is what we learn. And where does yoga come in here? Is in another one of our speeches, another person also asked asked one of the questions is, during the time that you're doing yoga, you feel good, and after that, the stress comes right on. So it's a question of practice. So let's do a few, things that will help us understand how to eliminate stress or prepare better for stress. For example, this morning we all woke up. Yeah, we all woke up at a particular time. You perhaps might remember what time you woke up, because we all use alarms these days. There's no body alarm as such that wakes you up for many of us, but most of us, we use the alarm. So it's either a 6 o'clock or a 5 o'clock or a 7 o'clock, whatever it is. So that we know. But take a moment, close your eyes, and let me know if any of us can remember what was the first thought that came in the mind as soon as you opened your eyes and you woke up. What was the first thought that came to you as soon as you woke up this morning? You opened your eyes. What was the thought? Do you remember that clearly? Excellent. What was the thought that we had 5 minutes down after we woke up? So when we wake up, we had a thought. We either make a note of it or we make a point to get to it. And then we go on with our morning work, right? Everything, brushing your teeth, morning ablutions, your coffee or your walk, whatever it is. And then what was the next thought? What was it that came to our mind? Thought is very clearly something other than chores that you do. The actions that you do are different from a clear, crisp thought that comes to you. So, few minutes down the road, what was the next clear thought that came to us this morning? So if you keep thinking like this, and when we think about what were the different thoughts that came to us throughout the day, possibly, one or two things we'll remember, but the very first thought that came to us in the morning, we don't realize, mostly because as soon as you wake up, the mind is not free. It is cluttered with things to do, things from yesterday, things in the future that we have an appointment for or made a note of in our book. And so that is how life is these days, and that is how the day goes on, that you're not able to understand the difference between a list of things to do and sensory inputs. Either you turn the light on, you see the light, you think of the light or the brightness, or you hear the alarm, you wake up, and that sets your mind thinking, or your actions rolling. But then a clear, pure thought is something that we'll have to look for most of the time, because we are so much inundated with one thing after the other. We don't even have time unless we think through, have a brainstorming session or something like that, that we really think about, that is one time that maybe we are able to do something. Okay? So when we have life like this, where every moment of the day is filled with either something from the past or something for the future that is connected, then we are not prepared well for the day. And so most of the time when we are running around, when we are finishing one thing after the other, we are unable to understand physical stress. When during the whole day, when was the first time that you realized that you need to rest your body, you need to stretch your muscles, you need to relax your back, or give yourself a good massage or something like that? We don't think like that. And same way, how many times did you notice yourself breathing well, taking a deep breath in and breathing out? We breathe all day long. All day long, we breathe in and breathe out, right from the moment that you are conceived, you've been breathing. So during sleep, during work, during other times, all the time we've been breathing. But when was the time that we sat down to think breath is important? And breath is something that will help you eliminate stress so easily. All of yoga is all about taking care of your physical body, taking care of deep, long breaths along with the body, the movements that you do to stretch and relax the body, deep, long breaths. When you do these two, the mind is naturally a lot more prepared to take on something, or any stress response is brought down. So stress is something that is inevitable and that is dangerous now, particularly because Vivek told you about cortisol. That is something that is getting secreted all the time because we are stressed all the time. And how cortisol affects all of us is again no secret. Yeah, we have at AltLife, especially, you will come to know later when Vivek sums up what the company is about. We see people day in and day out with hypertension and diabetes, heart problems, obesity, or PCOD, all these problems, and all of them, either stress is a high uh, comorbidity, or it is one of the causes for all of us. Yeah? So it has been identified that stress is something that is not good, particularly during COVID times. All kinds of stress, physical stress of sitting in one place and working for long hours, mental stress of what next, how are we going to deal with this, and so many other things. Um, and so stress is something that we are looking at very keenly and closely as a cause of so many problems, and so many problems yet to come also. So yoga, again, summing up or really coming back to what I started with, yoga is something that offers immediate relief for stress. I don't know how many of you have done yoga before. Perhaps many of you have tried. Many of you probably benefited a little bit or are still benefiting through it. And I'm sure many of you are runners, walkers, and fitness buffs, or maybe you listen to music, maybe you're sports people, maybe binge watching Netflix is your stress buster these days. Whatever it is, yoga is something that a lot of us have been practicing and teaching, and the benefits have been tested and published and experienced, and that is why it seems to be one of the things that many people are seeking these days, and our country, our civilization and culture is blessed with this great information, this tool, this science, this philosophy that can help us with eliminating stress. Vivek, am I going to go ahead do the exercise now, or are we coming back to something else?
Yes, Uma. Yes.
Vivek?
Uma, we're doing the exercise now. We're doing the exercise now, Uma.
Okay, I keep getting my husband's call in my Bluetooth. I have no idea why. He's downstairs in his own meeting. So it's really, I'm quite stressed. We'll give it a talk now.
No. This is working well.
It's working.
We can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm here actually quite close to the laptop without using a speaker. I think I will stick to that. because otherwise, it's just too much to manage. All right. So I'm
Uma,
going to,
a small request. Let us
Yeah,
switch on
sure.
our cameras so that we can see each other and do it, participate actively.
Oh, that'll be
I would
great.
request.
Yeah, right now I'm able to see only you, Vivek, and my camera.
Yes. So I request everybody to open their cameras so that we can actively participate in the exercise.
Vivek, are we going to not share the screen now then? Or will it go away when everybody turns on the camera?
No, nothing changes, Uma. You proceed with what you planned. People will turn on their cameras. You'll be able to see some of them.
All right. So I'm not able to see everybody, but that's okay. As long as everybody can see me, then that's fine. Excellent. So I'm going to assume that everybody is sitting at a chair at home or wherever you are comfortably. Simply come a little bit forward and sit at the edge of the chair so that your feet are planted firmly on the ground and your feet are slightly hip with the butt, spine lengthened. Chin gently tucked in towards the collarbone. Shoulders squared, relaxed, arms relaxed, palms on top of your knees. Take a deep breath in, breathe out. Gently close your eyes. Breathe in and breathe out naturally. At your own pace, become aware of your breath. Breathe in through your nostrils. Breathing out through your nostrils. First thing that we can observe is the air passing in through your nostrils. Air passing out through your nostrils, right and left. As you continue observing your natural breath, you'll realize your chest and abdomen expanding as you breathe in. Chest and abdomen contracting as you breathe out. Simply observe the next 3 more breaths as you breathe in and breathe out. Chest, abdomen expand. Chest, abdomen contract. Take a moment to observe the quality of air as you breathe in through both your nostrils, right and left. The air is cool, gentle, long, and deep. As it passes through the entire nasal passage, it travels down through your throat, down into the windpipe, and expands the lungs, fills up the lungs inside. As you breathe out, stomach gently contracts, pushes the air out of the lungs that travel back through the windpipe, through the back of the throat, out through your nostrils, through the entire length of the nasal passage. And as the air comes out, it's warmer, moist, thicker. Continue to observe this as you breathe in and breathe out normally. The next 3 breaths. Watch as the air passes through your nostril, down through the back of your throat, into the windpipe, into the lungs. Back out from the lungs, through the windpipe, back of your throat, out through the entire nasal passage, out through the nostrils. 2 more breaths, please observe. Slowly blink your eyes open. At the end of the next breath, go back to normal breaths. We breathe together with awareness for about little more than a minute. Yeah, about 10 to 15 breaths perhaps. I don't know if any of you are able to observe the subtle changes in the quality of your breath, in the quality of your own heartbeat, and perhaps what's going on in your mind. At that moment, while you were listening to the instructions and simply watching your breath, what was going on in your mind? And what is the effect of the practice? Such a simple thing. Most people who have experienced yoga, even for a half an hour, even for less than that, have always experienced positive benefits of it immediately, instantly. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe. Even a massage sometimes takes 45 minutes. Even if you're going to hit the bottle or something, it takes you a little more than that to feel really that nice buzz. Right? Yoga, when without any of these things, sitting where you are, exactly how you are, wearing what you are, all you have to do is sit and observe your breath. And that brings down your heartbeat, it brings down your breath, and immediately it turns on the regenerative buttons in your mind, in your whole physiology and psyche. Right? It's a very simple practice. Yesterday I was teaching somebody another small practice, and he said he came for yoga, and one of our own clients, and he said, I've had a dog day. I started my call at 8:15 in the morning, and I just finished at 5:45, and I'm here on the mat at 6 o'clock just to attend the class, because he didn't want to think anymore. He just wanted to get on the mat. I was so happy that somebody has the refuge, the mind to get onto the mat when you're so stressed. And so the practice at that time, all we did was, again, sit up straight and follow me here. Very simple practice. Sit up straight. I know you've been sitting all day long, but few more moments, but this time again, lengthen your spine. As if you should feel as if your top of the head is reaching the ceiling. The top of the head is reaching the ceiling. So lengthen yourself. Lengthen yourself. Relax the shoulders, relax the hands. Chin gently towards the collarbone. Breathe in normally. And the awareness to the breath always remains. You're breathing in and out. It happens naturally, but you're just sending in a little bit of awareness, a little bit of attention, a little bit of gratitude to something that is happening day in and day out. Continue to observe the breath and simply follow this. All I'm going to ask you to do is drop your right ear to your right shoulder, gently like this, and feel as if your left ear, I'm mirroring you, so your left ear is going up towards the ceiling. So I want you to lift the neck up, so the left ear is traveling towards the ceiling. Gently stretch the left side of your ear, stay there. Breathe in and breathe in normally, the same breath. Breathe in through your nostrils. Breathe out. Breathe in, watch your breath, expand the chest and abdomen. Breathe out, watch abdomen and chest contract. And one more breath. Breathe in and breathe out. Slowly release back to neutral spine and to the other side. Drop your left ear to the left shoulder and feel as if the right ear is traveling up towards the ceiling. So there will be an additional stretch in this entire region from the collarbone to the back of the ear. Keep the eyes open. Gently watch yourself. Watch your left ear come down to your left shoulder. The right ear go up towards the ceiling. Stay there again. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in through the nostrils. Breathe out through the nostrils. Breathe in, watch your chest and abdomen expand. Breathe out, watch abdomen and chest contract. Breathe in, breathe out. Slowly back to center, neutral spine. Look straight ahead. Chin parallel to the floor. Eyes eye level, not up, not down. Slowly I want you to turn, look right. Look right where you cannot turn any further, almost 15 degrees further than straight. Stay there now. Continue to breathe in and breathe out 3 breaths on your own. Long, deep, but gentle breaths. Keep the spine lengthened. 1, 2, 3. Slowly release your neck back to center. And now to the left. Turn, turn, turn. All the way, almost looking behind. Keep the spine lengthened. Continue to sit comfortably. Breathe in and breathe out 3 times. 1, 2. Slowly back to center. 2 more movements. Chin towards the collarbone. Press your chin towards the collarbone, releasing the back of your neck, a little bit of your upper back. Keep pulling down, keep pulling down. If you need, use your fingertips gently to pull your head a little bit further down, not too much. Very, very gently. Stay there. Now breathe in again and breathe out 3 more times. 1, 2, 3. Slowly, the same chin, I want you to point towards the ceiling. Lift, lift, lift. Point the chin, extending the entire throat muscles and neck muscles. Bite your jaw. So your mouth doesn't open and the tongue doesn't fall. Bite your jaw. Keep the tongue touching the roof of your mouth. Stick your chin up. Stay there. Breathe in and breathe out 3 times. 1. If you have any neck problems, please be careful. Look up only as much as you can comfortably. 2 and 3. Slowly bring the chin back down. The last movement, I just want you to swing your chin and neck like a pendulum back and forth, not round, yeah? Just all the way to the right and slowly all the way to the right. I want you to draw a necklace or a choker with your chin around your own neck, yeah? Drop, 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 all the way to the right, all the way to the left. Again, like the pendulum of the clock, gently move. 3 times, back and forth. In your own time. Stop the practice and sit up straight. Again, listen to your heartbeat. Moment to observe your breathing, natural, spontaneous breath. Please observe your mind space. What's going on in there? What's the quality of your mind space? Did it change? Did it transform for the better? Slowly release. Okay, so this was a small practice that we did yesterday when he said, you know, from 8:15 until 5:45, just put the phone down. Within the first 5 minutes, he said, this is all I needed to have done. I said, if you had done that around 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, would it have been better for the day? And clearly. So what is stopping you? This is nothing new. Everyone knows these exercises, you know, whether you're a runner or a walker or a biker or a jogger or a dancer, It's just simple neck exercises. What is stopping you from doing that? You clearly see the benefits of it. It took 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. And these days we have that watch and apps that you're able to send yourself reminders. You know, bing, it will tell you time to breathe or time for neck exercises. You know, we can do that. And so today I just sent a message to the client and asked him, did you do your neck exercise? He said, yes, 12:15 before lunch. That's it. So any habit can be formed. It is really not tough. It's a question of, again, going back to, do you recognize that you need this? You need this? Do you understand why you have to do this? You know, to release stress. And then are you able to manage it? One day you don't have to try to eliminate stress. You'll be able to swing both ways and lead a completely balanced and perhaps perform better. You know, I don't have to say this. This is all proved already and established. But the thing is, yoga is as much supposed to be a part of life, or yogic practices, or simply awareness to the spine breath. Just that alone is enough. In a sitting posture, why did I ask you to come a little bit forward, plant your feet? That's the only time your spine can be lengthened. Most of the time, here I have a table wannabe, right? So we are all sitting at our desk, and most of the time, you're doing something like this and typing. Most of the time, I have my husband at home working. I have my son who's 15, who's also in school. So I have proof right there. So very rarely you feel like, you know, coming to the corner of the chair, planting your feet, sitting up and typing. It's like, is this a punishment? Is it jail? That's what you feel like. But your body will thank you, because your spine is how it is supposed to be. Your shoulders are relaxed. Your chest is open. And you will breathe in naturally the optimum way. You don't have to make an effort to breathe into the chest and breathe out, squeezing the abdomen. When you sit like this, your chest is not compromised and your breath is not compromised. When you sit like this, when you sit some other way, there's a lot of strain in other parts of the body, that your breath will always be shallow. Yeah? So these are simple things. This is like this is part physiotherapy, this is part office therapy, this is part chair therapy, this is yoga, but it's just common sense in the end. It's just common sense. We all know this. I think you've probably had at least one event every week ever since COVID started, you know, or at least many of the corporates are doing this. They keep having these, stress management workshops and webinars, but then it has to drive home. You have to make the decision. It's finally in your hands. Nobody can help you as much as you can. You decide it's time. You decide it's now or too late, and then you start. And there are small things that you can do. It's not going to be tremendous thing that you have to get onto the mat and practice for 90 minutes. No such thing. No such thing. It begins here, and then you decide. And then you'll be the only person who can make that change. Not the best teacher in the world, not the best doctor in the world. Nobody can help you except you have to decide that. So that is, the yogic way of approach, no mumbo jumbo, no, what is it called, schedule or a little cheat sheet or something to say check, 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 and you're done. Nothing like that. It comes from the root that you identify and you make a decision to take care. And then there are so many other opportunities and help right there. Okay. So I think I will ask Vivek to go back. There are other things we can do also. I don't know how we are on time. We started late. So if there's more time, we can do another small exercise. But if it's time for Vivek, please carry on.
Yeah, I think we probably don't have the time, but I think we're happy to conduct sessions like this, which will help people. But I think that's just a small exercise. Thank you, Uma, for where you are in the situation, in your chair, how one is able to, use the power of breath, use the power of posture, use to clear up the mind, feel much better. And as we do it through the day, it is just surprising in terms of, how it helps you think better, focus better, feel better. Right? If you were to, take this 5-10 minutes or do a practice as well, which is 30-40 minutes, right? So thanks a ton. Hopefully people, I know, different people are in different places at home. You may be on the bed, on the couch, on the chair, but if you were able to follow this and do part of it, you would feel the difference, right, that it could possibly make. So I think that essentially was the quick exercise. So what I'd like to do now is quickly talk about who we are, what we do, not take too much time. But then if people have any questions, between Uma and I will be happy to take those questions once we get done with a quick introduction of what it is that we do, right? And, before anything, I think you can look us up at livealtlife.com, livealtlife.com. That's our website. But essentially, we are a purpose-driven company on a mission. How do we empower people to restore their health and fight again, overcome, different kinds of lifestyle diseases? That's essentially the focus of what it is we do. We partner with our clients to rethink health. So all our solutions are safe, natural, extremely convenient, and built on cutting-edge science to help us drive better health. And we have multiple solutions, right, that measure, track, and drive improved health outcomes. I'll probably take 5 minutes. It may seem like a hurry, but I just want you guys to know what it is that we do. And, as part of a relationship, we're very happy to extend offers if any of you want to take advantage, and we'll work with your team offline to see how it is that we can do this and how you can take advantage of some of the products and offerings that we have. Essentially, everything that we do, I think, is summarized in, so we have a complete what we call a health restore solution, and this is focused on people that have problems of different kinds. You want to lose weight, you are pre-diabetic or have diabetes, you have some cholesterol issues, you have PCOS, and any of these. So this is multiple things that come together to help you get to better health, right? And if you're on medicine, help you get off medicine. Revive our components of our health that we need to work well for us. One is what we call gut health, and that's very important. The other is our immunity, and that's very important. So we have a program to revive our gut and to make it as strong as it possibly can. And another one to revive our immunity and get us to the best possible strength. We have taken a relook at diagnostics. So those would be under the family of what we call reanalyze. We've taken a different view. It's not just lagging indicators which tell you where you are today, but there are certain tests that we do which also help you figure out where are you headed, right? And these are blood tests. It's somebody that will come home and take a test. We've also got a curated store where only the healthiest and health-oriented products are available. And we have some principles. So that is at retail.livealtlife.com. And again, happy to extend a coupon that will help you get some good deals, but I suggest you check it out at retail.livealtlife.com. And obviously, there's a lot of research that we do as a part of this. We've seen phenomenal results of people losing significant weight, dropping their what's called HbA1cs, etc., by doing our program. So, all the programs have, the food that we provide, right, to wherever you might be, home, office, etc. It's got exercise and yoga built in. It's got meditation sessions built in. It's got the diagnostic built in, access to, doctors and nutritionists and, counselors, etc. as part of the practice, and somebody that works with you to drive better health outcomes. So this is where all of it kind of comes together as a program. I talked about this. So the health restore, when you have a problem that you want to fix, lose weight, solve for PCOS, diabetes. So there's a 90-day version, there's a 30-day version. There's also a trial version of this that you can order on our website. The gut revive and the immunity revive, immunity is a 30-day program. Again, and all the food that you eat is provided by us, delivered to wherever you could be, all 3 meals. And this precision nutrition that drives the improvement to your health, ensuring you get the right mix of every possible micronutrient and macronutrient that you need. Similarly, where we help revive the gut, and details of these are on our website. So I'll just kind of introduce them, but not go into detail. Like I said, the one test that I suggest all of you look at and get done if possible is our smart health and risk assessment, right? This is a one-time test that I suggest you do, which will help you figure out where am I headed, if there's something, if I'm on the wrong path, if some of the body's processes are not working well, metabolism and inflammation, etc. What can I do today so that I change the trajectory of where I'm headed, right? very important and useful tool. I suggest you guys take advantage. The same thing you also have on a annual subscription where every 6 months, every 3 months, every month, depending on your condition, it's something that you could take advantage of. Like I said, the exercise and yoga and meditation classes, 6 days, 3 days, morning, middle of the day, evening, etc. But I think very useful, especially in COVID times. You don't need to step out. It is a high-touch online live, like Uma was taking, except it's a pure bunch of students where we take individual attention, and it's curated to ensure it drives better health. It's not to build muscle alone or etc., but it is how can we drive you to better health. And those are the asanas, those are the routines that we've kind of put together in the meditation, etc. And like I said, the online store where only health-oriented products, nothing processed, nothing chemically tainted. It's all organic and built. And the navigation is to meet various goals. You want a particular nutritional goal, you have a particular health goal, and the entire product selection is aligned with those. So I suggest you look at it. Retail.livealtlife.com, right? And obviously there's a lot of R&D and there's webinars that we keep holding. You can look up at our website. It could be on fasting, it could be on immunity, etc. That'll help you learn more and how can you apply it and how can you improve your health, your life, etc. So that's broadly a quick introduction to what it is that we do. And if anyone of you is interested, you could reach out to your leader, Shravan or Subha, and then there is deals that we can put together that will help you get advantage and a better packaging of what it is that we do, that we can work separately. So thank you once again. I hope you learned something and found something useful with this entire session. And obviously there's so much to cover, but we tried to summarize it to get the best we could in a 60-75 minute kind of a format. And very happy to take questions. I think there is a chat section that you will see, or there's a Q&A section that you'll see on your Zoom screen. Please do use that to type in any question you have, or unmute yourself and let us know what questions you have.
Yes, Mr. Vivek, I have a question.
Yeah.
So generally what we say is stress is a choice. It is not something that is happening externally. That is something which is happening internally and you're getting yourself stressed. My question is it something which has to be, is genetic factors also play a role? Does stress comes along a genetic lineage or something? Because we often hear saying that families and all have been predisposed to stress. So I just wanted to understand how much of it is genetic, how much of it is are we creating it for ourselves? That is my question.
Sure. A very interesting question. And I think what I'm going to say is not just about stress, but in general, the role of where genes play vis-a-vis choices that we make, right? And Uma can add on, once I've said what I have to say. I think, to a large extent, obviously genes are a integral part of who we are and who we end up becoming. Right, the DNA that comes in, that has the what's called the genome and your epigenome, that has codes that will help you or not help you, that make you who you are, right? Physical attributes and otherwise, and so on and so forth. But that being said, I think there may be people with genetic predisposition being a little higher or being a little lower. But one thing that's understand is we can't change our genes. Right? But what we can change is the environment in which the gene gets expressed or not. That's in our control, right? So if I'm at a higher risk of anything, it just means I need to take extra care, right, to ensure that that doesn't get exposed and remain safe. If I have, let's say, a genetic predisposition to heart disease, all it means is that doesn't guarantee that I get heart disease, right? All it tells me is if I take adequate care, I'm able to suppress that gene. And so I don't think it is, I think many of us take the easy way out of saying blame it on the genes, right? And I don't think that's right, because genes is not in our control. What's in our control are choices that we make, right? Because when we sleep, when we eat, the choice we make of doing, let's say, a yoga or a pranayama practice or not, those are not gene driven, right? Those are choices that we make, right? Whether I drink or smoke or any one of these, right? So And again, to your question, for example, how do I respond to a stressing event, right? Now, those are not genetic driven, right? Those are within our control. It is how much do we want to shape our mind? How much do we want to introspect? How much do we want to examine? How much do we want to rationalize, right? Because multiple people respond to the same event. Let's say, hey, we'll be working from home for another 3 months. For somebody, that's joy, right? For somebody, that is, hey, man, I'll miss hanging out with my friends. Hey, for somebody, I'm not able to meet. And each one of us responds differently to the same stimulus. So I believe that genes don't matter as much as choices that we can make, and that will overpower any genetic predisposition that exists. I think we need to believe that, like any outcome on how we deal with stress and do we let it impact us or not is in our hands. And obviously, the people that may have a predisposition need to take extra effort to ensure. But I think that's for you to introspect, realize there are enough tools available to be able to do that, and most of them are free. Right? I don't know if that answered. And Uma, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I mean, it is a really interesting question, very relevant also. And in yoga, we say you are the cause of your own misery. You are the cause of your own stress. You know, so to a lot of extent, how you are born and what are the characteristics and the genetics that you are born with definitely depend on what you carry on from your parents. But and that could cause so many other internal physiological problems. Stress is probably not one of them. You know, stress is you're the cause of your own misery, and most of the time the reason you're stressing out is what we call avidya, or an inability to comprehend or understand, or lack of it's not education but lack of the knowledge, you know. So you've not been given the knowledge that this causes stress, and you're causing it on yourself. There is no need for that, and this is how you eliminate it. That is vidya granted to you from a teacher, from a qualified teacher. So I would definitely not blame genes on stress. Of course, stress is the cause for many of the lifestyle diseases now, and so
So I think the other way to think about it is, the stress is not because of the genes, but if you continuously are stressed, it can impact your genes, right, and lead you down a path of which is not necessarily good. Right? And the tools are available to you, and you can manage what you can control, right, which is you, your thoughts, your choices, your practices, and that is what you can help. And I don't think it's right to bring genes in. I mean, it is what it is, and how do you improve yourself and manage depends on choices that you make.
Thank you for the answer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I mean, if you have any question, there's a Q&A panel, like I said. There is a chat as well, and obviously you can unmute yourself and let us know. Happy to take any questions. But obviously, if there is anything that you believe we can help, we're happy to. You can reach out to your team or to the AltLife team, and we, our goal, our passion, what drives us is how do we help people get to better health outcomes? How do we do it in a safe and natural way? It's about the health of the mind and health of the body, right? And I think the other session we planned is a little more about other lifestyle choices, right? Not just stress, and how they impact us, and what we can do. So sort of where can we get offers? I think we will work with your team and figure a way of distributing those to you folks, right? And please do take a look at, like I said, our website, which is livealtlife.com, and our retail store, which is retail.livealtlife.com. And yeah, thank you. Thanks everyone. And it was a pleasure. Thank you for taking the time. I do hope that each one of us takes a few things away that you can apply and improve your state of mind, the health of your mind, health of your body.
So Thank you, Mr. Vivek, and thank you, Ms. Uma, and thank you, Ms. Deepa, for conducting this session. And I hope it is really, really helpful. And due to maybe some, technical issues, the number of participants a little less for this session. We are trying to find out. But however, this session we would like to, publish in our internet portal, which we have it. So if we can have some references, I think one of the participant has also asked if we can have the PPT of the session.
Sure.
Though of course the session is the live session is always more helpful than the PPTs, but however, who could not reach out to this session, I'm sure they will reach out in the next session. And this session will be also, having an internal publicity to our teams so that they can get the information. So whatever information you would like to share with the employees, maybe who couldn't join, please let us know. So we'll circulate it to all of them. Okay.
And I think Shravan, Shubhra, if you believe that we need to do this again, we're very happy to do it, right? Because like I said, our goal is how do we get people to be aware of this? How do we get them to have tools that will help them? And that's what we're in it for. I mean, forget the business end. Our goal is how do we evangelize, better health outcomes for the mind, for the body, and what it is that we can do. So if you believe, there's another session needed because there's a bunch of people, happy to do that again. And, Deepa can help set that up.
Sure. That will be really helpful. Shravan will be updating on this. But anyways, for today's session, we'd really like to thank you on behalf of management and behalf of the HR team as well. Thank you for conducting this session to the entire team. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.